Good morning or good evening, depending on where you're based. This is Isabel. So nice to be online with you today before Christmas. So I wanted to make this live to reply to a bunch of questions I've seen in the comments. It's a little bit easier for me to do it live orally rather than to type all the replies because it takes a long time. And this way I also gather everything and you get all the answers, and you can also benefit from maybe people who ask the question in the chat and you benefit from the answers basically. So if you catch this live, you can definitely ask your question in the chat and I will answer it. So let's get started. I've built the questions here. So for some of you, okay, so let's get started. So I've got the first question from Angelette, and she's asking, I have a bachelor's degree for teaching, but I have no teaching license yet. Do I need a teaching license to work in Switzerland? I'm from Asia. So this is a question about teaching in Switzerland. So you just have to know that teaching in Switzerland does require some certification. So it really depends where you're going to teach. So for example, if you're teaching in private schools, you will not necessarily need any type of certificate in Switzerland. You can basically teach in private schools with the degree from your country of origin. I see some comments at the same time. So I see Andre's here, hi. And Sujoy Saha also has joined. So welcome to you in the live today. This is great to have you on. So yeah, about teaching. So basically, if you teach for private schools, they're a little bit more open in terms of education and where you studied. If you teach for those public schools, definitely it's a little bit more, you need more certifications from the local Switzerland. So it really depends where you want to teach and how and all these things. So there's a website called teachaway.com. So you can log on there and you will see for each country it tells you what you need. And that's just a reference for any country where you want to teach. Also, you can do a Google search and find out a bit more about teaching in public schools in Switzerland or private. But remember that you need to have a job offer before you can come to Switzerland, work in Switzerland, get a permit, and so forth. So it's the job offer first, and then everything else after that. Okay, next question from Anna. Anna is saying, hello, can you tell me about social work opportunities? I already have a master's. Is there any possibilities? So social work is very specific to local markets. Usually it's one of those, it's a little bit like government. They tend to have local people who can speak the local language to deal with the locals who inquire about their benefits or they need help. The only thing I would think where maybe English is the language is if you deal with refugees, for example, maybe their English is a little bit more the language. You would have to inquire also a little bit about that. But again, in Geneva, for example, there's a social work. There's a website where if I have clients who are looking for jobs in the social sphere, it's all in French pretty much. So in Geneva, and it will be the same in Zurich because they're catering to supporting the locals with all kinds of things, whether it's housing, all the needs that you could have, social work, getting the kinds of financial benefits and so forth. So it's very government heavy. So anything that's really programs or subsidies from the government, it's going to be in the local language. So in Switzerland, you have to speak French if you're in the French part or German if you're in the German part. So social work is not really an expat type of activity per se. If you want to be a global worker, I don't think expatriate yourself, social work is not the ideal career. So that's just some feedback there. Okay, next one is from Maya. I pursued a master's in English, bachelor's in education, I guess, master in ELT. Then there's a bunch of things, I don't know what it is. 15 years of experience in teaching English. How to directly apply from India? Please help. Thank you. Okay. So those of you who watch my channel know how I am. You know I'm very direct and upfront. And I will tell you the way it is. Stop studying stuff that's not going to get you work. So if you tell me that, oh, I've done, 2 masters and 3 PhDs and I'm so qualified, is that what the market needs right now? Does the market need an extra master's and an extra PhD out to the market? I mean, you need to write this down, take a piece of paper and a pen, write down what kind of problem am I solving today in this world? That's how you're going to get a job in 2020 and beyond. What kind of problem are you solving? And if you can solve a problem, then you have a job. If you can't solve a problem, you don't have a job. So that's just very simple. So look at where the trends are going. I'm trying to share this in my channel, where the jobs are going, what kind of qualifications are needed. More degrees is not the answer to what the market needs right now. The market needs people who are aware of the trends and where the jobs are. And I keep talking about it, anything that has tech in it. So you see now with, ed tech, fintech, med tech, whatever, you call it, you just add tech to it. So go towards these jobs, work online. That's going to be necessary in 2021. So the answer to that question is stop pursuing degrees and start understanding what the market needs, and then you can position yourself. Next question. Raju is saying, can you tell about hotel field? Well, hotels right now are not necessarily a growing market. And those jobs tend to be, again, the type of work you would get when you're local, when you're already positioned in a country and you drop off resumes and, especially for the entry-level positions. And the hotel industry, I don't think is heavily hiring at the moment. So it's probably not the best positioning in 2021, anything linked to hotel and travel. If you're young and you're agile, I would say try to shift and, do a little bit of a pivot, and try to go towards something that has a better future in the short term, because again, I don't see travel picking up and hotels and all that. We're getting more lockdowns now. So try to pivot, try to see if you can learn something that's a little bit more in demand. I'm going to try in 2021 to go towards online work. So I will talk about that a little bit more, about how to become this digital person that works online. Just found a website. I'm going to talk more about that. So to find gigs online, that's definitely going to be the way to go. Watch my video, how to get a job in 48 hours, which is really basically to work online. So yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. Next question, Vikram. Vikram is asking, he has 10 years of experience in marketing and sales, and asking about football, so I guess sports industry. Well, there's not a lot of sporting events happening right now, hence there's not going to be a lot of events overall and sporting and all that. So sales and marketing, maybe you can check. Sales and marketing, unless you do digital marketing, I would say you're not going to find a lot of openings. So again, if you watch this live, go towards marketing online. So Facebook ads, social media, digital marketing. That's definitely, if you want to stay in marketing, that's the way it's going. It's online marketing. So campaigns online, email marketing, app marketing, and so forth. That's the kind of skills that you want to get to find a job with an employer. Get a little bit of experience, and then you can position yourself for any market, really. I mean, digital marketing is part of those jobs where you can do from anywhere if you're good. So it's not as relevant where you're going to end up. More relevant is get the skills, get the experience, and then you can see where there's job openings. Don't over focus on Switzerland, because it's only one country within a bigger continent. So again, in Switzerland, there's going to be limited opportunities for digital marketing. A lot of people will be looking also in the market because they're already there and they may have been laid off. Big companies are doing some layoffs right now in Switzerland, just the same as in any country. So Those people who lose their jobs in Switzerland will be in the market in 2021 looking to find something new. So there will be competition for people who try to enter. So I would say in 2021, don't focus necessarily on the country, but more about getting the skills that are needed, solving problems, and then you see a little bit where there's some openings still for a newcomer into a market. If you're in a country where the salaries are decent, maybe start getting the experience first in your own country. Expatriation is going to be also complicated because how can you relocate people if you can't travel? You have to think about all the connections between what's happening right now. Next question, which is actually a longer question, and I believe Sujoy Saha is online. So that's for you there. You sent me a message. It was actually a long email. I don't want to give too much detail because, again, I'm trying to keep people's confidentiality. So I tried to summarize a little bit what was said in the email. So someone from India with a master's degree in computer applications. So someone who's a specialist in IT, who came to Switzerland already via your company as a consultant, I guess, via an L permit. So trying to get skills with doing, again, an executive MBA. If you had contacted me before, I would have question marked that. Do you need an executive MBA, especially if it's not from Switzerland? Now, if you say I'm going to study in Switzerland, that's a different, completely different thing. You're trying to Swissize your profile, get the experience and the education there. But yet another executive MBA from another country may not have the same weight. So I tried to explain that. I had someone, again, who contacted me who's got a degree from the US. If you want to live in a specific country like Switzerland or, those countries that are very heavy ticket to enter, like Luxembourg, Monaco, Switzerland, all these countries that are a little bit elite type of countries. If you want to make a place for yourself there, I would say it's better to study there. Because if you're getting a degree from abroad, you're just going to compete with everyone else in the world with those degrees from abroad to enter. Again, I would have to see which school you get the degree from. If it's from a Ivy League, like the London Business School or Harvard or something like that, then it still has some value. Now, if it's just a university, you're just going to compete more. So that's the thing. I mean, now having an executive MBA from a average university is going to be competitive to differentiate yourself from other candidates. So the executive MBA, I would say, in 2020 is not such a big differentiator as it used to be. I always say when I started my career, it was really a differentiator. The person who had the executive or any kind of master's, I would say, had they had the differentiator, they had the extra thing. But now the master's has become the norm. So having a master's doesn't make you special. It's not something that's going to get you any kind of privilege to enter a company. It's just the norm. It's what we expect. It's like, yeah, you have a master's, just like in the past you had a bachelor's. So what you need to do is say, okay, what kind of problem am I solving? What kind of research have I done, even personally, about companies? Maybe I studied very much the crypto sphere. Crypto is the big thing now. So I've studied maybe cryptos and I understand the ins and outs. I have a little bit of an edge in the fintech. So that plus the master's together is going to make you special. But the master's in itself is not enough. So then in the email you say, I know instead of having proper skill, other factors like the non-EU residentship. So yeah, that's obviously a big deal. And the language. So now already I'm reading in the email that unless you're coming via a company, just like you did before, by yourself, it's going to be complicated to get a company that will hire you and relocate you to Switzerland by yourself. Now, if you're part of a big company, just like you are right now, you're part of a big organization, and they deploy you again, and maybe at some point you get hired locally, My question mark would be, you said you came 2 years in Switzerland as a consultant. My question would be, what did you do during those 2 years to try to get yourself known to the market? Did you network heavily? Did you go to a lot of events? Did you try to be known online as well? Get connections, to try to stay there? Or did you just work for your company? My guess is you just work for your company. So now the strategy would be try to get another one of those consulting assignments with your organization, or another one in India. You come to Switzerland, but this time you have a plan. This time you say, I'm coming for 2 years, 3 years, but I'm going to really have a plan to get hired there permanently and do all the things that I can, like network heavily, get my name out there, do some online visibility type of structured events and all that. So you want to market heavily when you're local. But just by yourself, I think it would be a little bit of a stretch. So what you want to do is, again, find another assignment like this, but this time make the use out of your 2 years or 3 years in Switzerland by heavily marketing yourself locally and learning the language perfectly. That's going to help as well. So again, during those 2 years, did you study French or German? I'm not sure where you were based at the time. So study the language, try to network heavily to be seen by the local market, and then you can get a job there. But as a non-EU, and I said this before in my videos, as a non-EU, it's impossible to get a job in Switzerland unless, and again, there's only two options. You work for the United Nations or one of those big international organizations, or you study in Switzerland and you're part of those lucky few that manage to get an internship and manage maybe to turn that into a job. And I know a few people, mostly in tech, so engineers, people work in tech, they manage to get the internship after studying in Switzerland and they get a permit, and then the employer likes them and maybe they make them permanent. But that would be more the exception than the rule. So I just want to make that clear, that if you study in Switzerland, there's no guarantee that someone is going to go and recruit you. So you just have to weigh it out and say, okay, maybe if you study in something technical like the EPFL or the ETH or one of those schools, you increase your chances a little bit because you're part of those few that chose the hard studies, and there's not going to be as much competition as if you go for I don't know, social science degree or something like that. So study something that's highly technical, do it in Switzerland. I would avoid the general like MBA or master's in all these things because it's not technical enough in 2020. So if you want to increase your chances, again, pick something hard, technical, network heavily when you're there as a student to try to get that internship. Worst case scenario, you only get an internship, but you still get Swiss experience. Base case scenario, you get a job and you can stay. But that's pretty much as a non-EU, that's pretty much your options. As an EU passport, you get a bit more chances that an employer will recruit you. But again, I'm saying this, be careful because there's going to be some travel restrictions coming up. Employers will have a harder time making people come. Already it was complicated based on the passport. And now if people can travel, you can't get them to relocate anyway. So companies are going to pick what's the easiest, and what's the easiest is to get the local people. So even if you have a great candidate in the EU, for example, but let's think about the UK. I mean, the UK is locked down now, no travel, new virus has just popped up. No travel, no nothing. So if you have a candidate who's in the UK, for example, well, first of all, it's going to be considered non-EU as of the first. And secondly, if you have a country in Europe, then all of a sudden there's no travel restrictions, etc. You can't relocate the candidate. So companies are going to be aware of this. They're going to say, look, we're taking a big chance now. We don't know which country in Europe is going to come up and say we have this restriction, and then boom, you can't relocate your candidate. So yeah, companies, I think in 2021 will look inward. They will look at what they have, and yeah, so you have to be aware of that as well when you're applying, of that local preference that's going to be even more acute in 2021. So process this, be aware of this when you position yourself for job search in 2021. It's going to be more and more the case. So the last part of the email, so my answer to that, you're not based locally, you don't speak the local language, or you have some barriers there, so you don't have a work permit, your education is interesting but not so technical that you would be on the edge. So maybe you have more of a general master's, MBA in finance. So I would say, the only way would be to work a deal with your local companies to relocate you again as a consultant, just like you did before, but this time do more marketing of yourself to try to stay. So that would be my 2 cents there. So I see some more questions. Let's see. Seven Heaven. Oh, I like that. Seven Heaven. It looks nice. Hello, my dear. Merry Christmas. All the best to you and family. Thank you very much. Can I ask a question? Can I work in English speaking work in Geneva? I have European residence and bachelor and want to come. So I'm not sure what you mean by English. I guess you're looking for an English-speaking job in Switzerland as a European. Well, it's exactly what I was saying earlier. Depending where you are, relocations are going to be complicated in 2021. So unless you have this extraordinary profile that companies need, like again, I'm looking at the hot spheres right now. Crypto money is a big one. Anything tech related, engineer, all that. If you don't have those profiles, probably they have enough people on the local market who speaks English that they can recruit. Now, if you come to Switzerland to live, let's say you're coming family reunion or something like that, and you're becoming local, then it's a little bit easier. But from abroad, if you're applying from abroad without a really specific type of technical profile, there's not going to be a lot to expect from the Swiss market, just like any other market, really. I think recruitment will be more local. Again, I'm going to talk more in my channel next year about the online possibilities for English speakers, because there's going to be a lot of online hubs that are going to pop up and offer online opportunities. So working online, I think, is definitely going to be the big thing, and probably also easier for expats. So you're not you're not working based on the location, which I like the idea, where you can really be free of location and work from anywhere. I've always been a big fan of this idea because I like it personally. But I think now people will also have to adopt it because, it's going to be tougher to travel. It's going to be tougher to move. So working online, I find, is a good solution. Okay, that's the last part of the question from Seven Heaven. For master and stay there. So if you're going to do a master's degree in Switzerland, the first thing I would do is really look at the needs on the job market. So don't go for a master's saying, oh yeah, I'll just get a master's. Make sure it's relevant. Make sure it's actually going to be something that companies want. So do something technical. If you do a master's, again, in sociology or psychology or something like that, it's not going to help you. So you want to do, if you're going to go for the master's, again, do something technical, in tech, mostly, I would say, anything related to maybe digital science, or digital marketing, or data science, or something like that, that you can apply immediately for a company. So do your research very well on that. I will make more videos about the online world as well, and the technical jobs available in 2021. But do something that's very edgy. Uma Salma Baba. Voila. Sorry. If you have done an online MBA from Switzerland, will that make a difference? An MBA again. An MBA again. So the MBA is a general degree. So in 1990, when I was studying, 95, I finished my degree. So in 1995, when I finished my studies, it was great to have an MBA. You were a superstar if you had an MBA. So this, I think, there's still this thing now where maybe especially if you're younger, your parents would tell you, yeah, the MBA, it was the big thing. You know, I'm part of the generation MBA where it was hot, it was the thing to have. Now it's not the case anymore. An MBA is just average. So you're not going to impress a company if you say you have an MBA. So now people have to realize that, you know, even though, you know, they can have some value, and I do make the difference between just getting an MBA out of the blue and someone, for example, who's in a company, and let's say I'm a manager in a company and I want to be promoted, I want to get more scope to my job, I want maybe to manage teams, and as a leverage, I'm going to tell my company I'm getting an executive MBA. So that will put me maybe in a more senior role in a company, and it's going to be leverage for my career. But I'm already in a company and I already have a plan of where I want to go within this company. So that could help. Now, someone who's without a job now and say, I want to provide value to the market. Now, you know what? I'm just going to sign up for an MBA. That's just going to keep you busy. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a trajectory of where you want to be, it's just going to be yet another MBA on the market. So you want to really focus about what do you want to do? Make sure you look at the market, and based on what's offered, where do you see yourself? You know, do you see yourself doing digital marketing? Do you see yourself doing tech? It's not going to be so many options. I mean, now the world is getting more technical, more online. There's going to be very specific pockets of jobs that companies need. So you need to find these, and it's easy. You just look on job boards and just study, you know, like, for example, now do something with project management, you know, learn maybe to code on Python or something like that. And then you can find a job because the companies will need your skills. So before you sign up for an online MBA or in-person MBA, just look at the market a little bit. I would probably tell you that's not going to be something that gets you a job immediately. Rather, try to see within, again, I said digital marketing, because if you're not so much into the science part of tech, maybe you want to go more towards the marketing part. So digital marketing or something like that, copywriting, do something that's going to be relevant. Now, if you go into finance, I would say go into a finance with specific skills. So you have, for example, in the US, it's CPA, or you're a certified accountant or something like that. That's going to be in demand. So look at the skills in demand. The master's is too wide, it's too general. It's great as a leverage when you're already in a company, but it's not going to get you the entry. So if you're into finance, look at the certifications in finance. If you're in, if you want to go towards marketing, do digital marketing, do tech, do something that's going to give you something concrete. Companies are looking for concrete skills. They want to see the know-how, that you just don't have the degree, but you have the know-how. So that's the big difference. Seven Heaven again with the nice cat on the photo that I really love. This cat, it's cute. Yeah, at least for the beginning pharmacy degree and want to do master in global health. Pharmacy, I think when people say pharmacy, they mean pharma, because pharmacy in Europe or in Switzerland, it's the shop where you buy the medication, and it's something very specific. So you mean pharma? Yeah, pharma now, definitely. I should have said that as part of the in demand. Definitely anything linked to health, global health, pharma, that's in demand. But again, you need something. What do you want to do within pharma? There's different kinds of roles, and you want to test that a little bit, see what you like. Okay, so Joy is saying, thank you, Isabel. Supposedly, if I don't get any future assignment like last time, then the only option would be getting a degree from Switzerland, right? What kind of degrees and from which university? There's not, again, degrees for you would be a little bit out of scope because you already have a lot of degrees. So I don't think having more would help. Maybe finding a job in another big company where you're based and trying to get the relocation would be a better idea, unless you want to do something in tech in Switzerland, but that's a huge change from the master's that you plan to that you have right now, going from MBA to do something in tech. Yeah, that's something, maybe it's a bit too much of a stretch there, because it requires, it's more the engineering part and so forth. It's something different. And again, there's no guarantee. So if you were to say, okay, I'm going to do a degree and get into the EPFL or something in engineering, there's no guarantee that you get a job afterwards. So it's something to weigh out. It's a big investment, both from time, money, effort. So I'm not sure. And again, I can't guarantee would bring you results. That you get a job after that. So the safe way is just to try to get another assignment, if not with your current company, from another company that you would apply for on site locally. But if you really, really, really want to study and study in Switzerland, then research it, see what kind of degrees are in Switzerland. But again, you're taking a big chance. There's no guarantee. So I just want to make that clear. Seven Heaven is saying thank you. Thank you, Seven Heaven. For your information, I'm already a specialist in computer application. Yeah, but there's a lot of people who have IT and all that in Europe already who want to work in Switzerland. So IT by itself is not going to guarantee a job. Again, people who study, sometimes they get in that way in the tech or IT. They study and they get an internship. But I said it's more the exception than the majority. So it's a chance. If people say, look, I'm 25 years old, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, I have a bit of money, I want to study in Switzerland, I would say go for it and enjoy yourself. But, I don't know what your status is. Do you really want to make this huge decision to leave a job, to come to Switzerland to study with no guarantee? That's a personal decision. It's a little bit of a poker, If you can afford it, if you have the time to do a degree in Switzerland and you want to take the chance to do it this way, you can try. But again, there's no guarantee. So, okay, Uma Sama Brabawala is saying, does Masters in Communication have scope? No, not really. Masters in Com, unless you do, again, digital marketing is anything digital. So anything that has the word digital or tech in it. If you have one of those, you have a better degree, I would say, or better chances to find something with it. But the jobs are really, again, becoming more technical, more online. So try to look at degrees. And again, you have to remember that education is not as fast as the market. So all the jobs that are growing now as we're speaking, that are being created, there's no degree for them yet, because that's how it works. The online world or the tech world is faster than education, and schools have to go and build degrees after that, but there's always a little bit of a time lapse. So I would say you'd be better off, and I've talked to people in tech and I've invited them in my group also to speak. Tech is something you learn by trying, by doing. So getting a degree is the base, but then it's something you learn, like even digital marketing, you learn by doing, and you learn by learning also by yourself. And you have a lot of courses now online that are really specific, that can teach you the skills you need to get into a specialty. So you have all these things like, even universities now have short-term courses. The EPFL has them as well. I will probably make a video on that. They have some short-term courses, very specific in very specific online skills. So you're better off doing something like that than just a general master's in something very wide, is my vision of how it works. Yeah, master in psychology is not going to help you in the job market of 2021 unless you're a psychologist working in maybe social work, or you have your own consulting, your own practice, working as a psychologist. But it's not something companies are going to be pursuing heavily. I want to work in training and e-learning industry, thus was considering management or communication. Yeah, e-learning, training, that's also a little bit linked to the online world if you're going to do training online. So look at the jobs for training and e-learning and see what kind of degrees they're asking for in Switzerland, for example, and just see, how you could fit into that. You're better off learning about how it works online and just get some experience. I'm not sure if you have some experience, but get some experience and then you have better chances. But all these jobs, training and e-learning, training is a little bit linked to human resources, and e-learning is more about online education. So you just want to check. But I don't see necessarily management or communication being linked to that. Maybe you can get a short certificate where you learn how to build courses online, something like that, very practical, how to build online education, the mechanics of it, something like that. Oh, okay. So 7 is in pharmacist, pharmacy technician, or apotheker. Yeah, so that's not working in pharma. Then that's a pharmacist, someone who holds the shop there where you buy the medication. So yeah, you need to then do. From the top of my head, I'm not sure, but that's not necessarily the same as working within the pharma international companies. It's I would say it's probably more like a doctor or something like that. I'm not sure. I would have to check what kind of certification you need there or degrees. But I would think in Switzerland it's regulated. You can't just open a pharmacy and it's not like a grocery store. You need to have probably some medical certification there. Okay, so I'm just trying to see, is there any more questions? So the way you want to do it when you're looking for a job is first look at the job boards. Print a few jobs that you like. So maybe you'd look at Indeed, and again, I'll post this below. There's a little bit of a delay with the broadcast where you can't leave comments necessarily, but first what you want to do is check the job boards, look a little bit within what's of interest to you, what are the degrees. So you do a printout of maybe 10, 15 jobs that you like, look under education on the profile, and take a marker and see a little bit what are the things that keep coming back, So for example, it's just the example that comes from my head. If you're looking to work in tech and you keep seeing Python as something that's always required, Python. So you're like, oh, maybe I need to study Python. So that's how you do it. It's not really rocket science. I mean, you just print out the jobs, you see what is always coming back as a requirement, and you say, okay, well, that's what companies want. So that's what I study. So it's not so much what you like, even though it could be part of the equation. And I would hope that people do something they like to some extent, but it's also what is the market requiring. So right now, what market likes is Python for coders. So that's what you want to study. They want certifications for accounting. They like the accounting certification, especially the Swiss accounting certification. So that's what you want to get. If you're in HR, they like to have the HR local certificate as well, because you're going to deal with contracts and the Swiss regulations. So that's what you want to get. So rather than to say, oh, okay, I don't have a job, so let me sign up for the first master's that I see. Rather, look at what you want to do and whether there's a market for it. Maybe there's no market for it. Maybe what you want to offer, there's no jobs right now. So someone said about the hotel industry. I'm not sure it's going to be heavily recruiting right now. So try to pivot, with what's going on right now, 2020, 21, big change, digitalization, massive changes in how we work, more going online. A lot of businesses actually shutting down or closing permanently, probably for some of them. So take this chance to say, okay, let me get a little bit of a bird's eye view and see what's happening globally. Where are the pockets of opportunities that are still alive, where I can still make a living? In which countries are they? And what's in demand, what kind of jobs are in demand. And you find that by looking at the job boards in the country you target. So if it's Switzerland, you look at the indeed.ch and jobs.ch and all of those, which I will post below. And then you just say, okay, well, it seems like it's definitely going digital. Again, I'm trying to summarize for you, and you'll have the proof of that when you do your research. But the world is definitely going into that. So unless you go into that same direction, you're going to be a little bit further away from the job market. So I think now people need to be very swift. They need to understand that, okay, it's changing, I need to adapt quickly, and those who will be able to do it will still have relevance in the job market. But people who keep saying, yeah, I'm going to get yet another degree in psychology and sociology and all of those, while you're doing that, the market is moving. And it's not moving in the direction that you're studying. So you just have to be cautious about not spending too much time in irrelevant markets or irrelevant studies, but focus your time on what's recruiting, what are companies needing the most right now, where they're willing to pay somebody. Some jobs they're not willing to pay people anymore because they don't have those needs. So, or they can do it cheaper somewhere else online. So you just have to be aware of that. What are people willing to pay for? What problem are you solving? Those are the questions you should ask yourself, and write that down. And then that's how you find out what kind of jobs you want to do. So you need to have an eye out on what's happening on the economy, on the job market, without being too self-focused on what you like and what you want, which has, again, some relevance. But unfortunately, as long as you need to be working, maybe when we're all rich and famous and we don't have to work anymore, or, when you're at a point where you say, well, I'm maybe working 10% of my time or 20% of my time because I want to live maybe a minimalist lifestyle, which is really trendy right now. But unless you're there, you need a full-time job, then you need to be aware of what the market needs and cater to that. So again, that's what I would recommend to everybody. Just look at the trends, what's needed, and also be aware that the relocation and movement in general will be limited. So that also you have to be aware of. So the whole thing about, well, when I studied in Australia, that was a little bit the global thing that we're used to and we grew up with, where we study somewhere, we work somewhere else. That's going to be a little bit limited going forward. There's going to be restrictions in movement. So just be aware of that as well, that the whole plans of going everywhere is going to be a bit limited. Okay, someone is saying here, Uma is saying, thank you. I have 11 years in training, have relocated with my husband. Also, you're already relocated, 11 years in training. Yeah, so just look at what companies need at the moment the most, I would say, in terms of training. What can you solve for them immediately? Maybe you take a course online, you learn how to put a program together, and you can do that quickly for them. Maybe take their programs and bring them online. Or maybe you have the tech part where you know what kind of tools to use for courses. There's so much right now offered in terms of software. It's incredible because a lot of companies now are selling software for online courses. So either you're a project manager and you help them with choosing the software, deploying it, or you're the person who's more the content person, where you're going to take all the information and build that online. So maybe a course that's typically several months in person, you're able to take that in and transform that into an online experience with maybe some in between in-person meetups, and you're doing a hybrid version. I know, for example, EPFL, it's interesting. They have online courses where it's all online and they have access to a teacher. So the course is happening online, but you have support from somebody outside where you can ask questions, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's happening online, of course. But you have that one-to-one support, because you lose the motivation and so forth. So position yourself on something specific, either project manager, or you're more of a content psychology. Maybe you're more the content person. But you also need to bring in, it's not just psychology. So you also need to bring in, how do you put a program together in terms of content? So it's very specific to training there. So maybe check what other programs exist and get some ideas there that you can offer to companies as a solution. Romit Kumar, I want to work in Switzerland in IT. Can I get a job from India? I think it's the same thing, same as Sujoy. A lot of you IT in India, you want to come to Switzerland, but you just have to realize that without a EU passport, it's complicated. So again, same advice I just gave. Either your United Nations, sometimes United Nations need IT as well. So a lot of people that I see from India in Geneva, they work for the international organizations. You just have to see on unjobs.org what kind of jobs are there. If you want to stay within the private sector, then the best thing is to study in Switzerland. Hope you get hired as an intern, but that's not really the case if you're a little bit senior and leaving everything to come to study in Switzerland. And again, no guarantees. It's really a poker. It's really poker card there. You don't know. You can leave everything behind in India, study in Switzerland, and there's no guarantee. And you have to realize when I try to make decisions or about my life in general, personal or public, I always say, is everyone doing the same thing? If everyone is doing the same thing, you're not special anymore. So if everyone is using Instagram to publish their stuff, well, you're just another person using Instagram. If everyone is offering this type of skill, then you're not special anymore. So if everyone from India is going to study in Switzerland, hoping to get an internship, you could be guaranteed that it's going to limit your chances. So you just have to be a little bit of an innovator for yourself to say, okay, how could I present myself to the Swiss market under different light? And really, when you're abroad right now, as I said, just don't over focus in one country thinking it's going to be your dream country. I think right now focus more on how you can get the reputation, become the go-to person in your industry, build your name where you're at, because that's easier. 2020, 2021, it's easier to build careers locally. So build up your profile locally. And when you're really, really strong in your profile, you're a go-to person, then you start attracting a little bit in foreign countries as well. And then you have a bit of a better edge to maybe be relocated via your company. So that's how a lot of people that I met from non-EU countries came to Switzerland, is they were relocated via their companies. And, I was relocated via my company from Paris to Switzerland. So I wouldn't have the idea. I didn't think about it. So I just happened to be relocated to Switzerland. That's the easiest way. Company takes care of everything. They find you a place. You don't have expenses. I mean, it's the best way, really. I would say, especially for a working professional. Now, if you're a student, as I said earlier, you're a student, you don't have anything to lose. You like the adventure. You just come to study in Switzerland and you hope to get hired. I would say good luck. But again, as you're more of a seasoned professional, do you want to do that, knowing that the chances of being hired are very, 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 and again, I insist on that, very limited? I don't know. It's the same with me. I went to the US. I was 19 years old. I was able to get a job locally, but I was a student. I was 22 years old. So when I finished school, 23 years old. Now, what does a 23-year-old has to lose? I just say, yeah, we'll see. If I get a job, great. If I don't, I just go back home. I ended up getting a job. Big deal. But now, if you ask me, do I want to go to a foreign country, go to study, hoping to get hired? No, because I'm just not in that mindset right now. But it depends on where you're at in your life, basically, and are you willing to put yourself through that hurdle of, studying and hoping to get hired and all that kind of thing. So it's really a lot of choices. Thank you. You're very insightful. Thank you very much. Well, I try to tell it the way it is. I think, again, there's no benefit from me in telling people like fluffy stuff about dreams and coming to Switzerland. I try to make it where I try to tell it the way it is. So this is the situation in the world. This is the situation in Switzerland. So I don't like to lie to people. I think it's just not my type of thing. And it's the same thing with my consulting. I always look at the profile of the person. What is their status? What are their chances of finding a job, etc. We look at it together. And then I say, okay, based on your profile, this is how I see things based on my experience. Okay, we've got someone. I just need to check the time because I have an appointment online with somebody. Okay, so Oit is saying, from opinion, which is best scope except medical field, and I'm student and want to do masters. Then from opinion, which is best scope except medical field, I'm a student and I want to do masters. Well, you need to be clear. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. You know, I said that earlier, the best field besides medical is IT, heavily technical, tech, all these things. So try to pick a program if you're going to study in Switzerland where they're very edgy in their stuff. So engineering, software engineering, crypto, fintech. But again, these are very new fields. So there's not going to be necessarily trainings yet that are in place. So you just have to find with all the programs that you see what seems to be the most relevant to the local market. So anything with crypto money, anything with digital, anything with tech. But if it's just a general program, I would say it's not going to make a huge difference in the market to find a job. So companies want to hire people who have the technical skills, who can progress what it is that they're doing and they're putting in place. And right now, again, crypto money, I don't know where it's going exactly, but I see crypto monies taking a lot of, and digital money in general, taking a lot of growth. So that means also it's going to change how we exchange and everything. So people who have their training in finance, but not just the regular finance, but maybe innovative financing, all these things, and especially around crypto would be maybe edgy a little bit. So you have to look at, I think you have to be the type of a person who brings something really relevant to a market. So the person who just did another master's degree, we have 200 like you already on the Swiss market looking for a job. Now the person who's actually researched maybe on their own the trends and understands maybe a bit more, and has that innovative mindset, maybe they have an edge to the local market and they can bring something new to an organization. So you have to do your research on that and find out where are the trends, you know, get passionate about something and learn it really, really well. So if it's something that you love, let's say you love what's going on with crypto, you're going to be very, very serious about learning everything that you can find about it. And you're going to be very verbal about it and maybe publish a lot of blog articles about the topic. And at some point, you'll be seen as someone who has knowledge that other people don't have. So that coupled with an education in Switzerland could be the differentiator. But just being another student in Switzerland is not going to make a huge difference. So become obsessed, as I said in different videos, about also the companies that you target, to know the stuff that they're doing, to understand where they're going. So again, right now in Switzerland, there's a huge startup movement. You know, a lot of companies, I just watched recently the top 20 startups in Switzerland, they're all in tech. So that tells you something. Switzerland is trying to catch that wave as well, biotech, fintech. So if you study around these fields, you know, you have a better chance to enter these startups as they're growing. But if you become another psychology degree, I don't think you're going to make that impact when you talk to companies. So just to be aware of that. So I hope this live was helpful. I plan on doing another one in January when I will be back from a few days away. So probably middle January or something like that. I will pick up questions. So if you post your comments, I aggregate them and I just do a live like this where I answer them. It's a little bit easier for me. And this way you can have also, you can join the conversation and ask me your questions. So thank you for attending. Feel free to replay this to catch some things. And I will do another live again, middle of January, probably, where I will share more. Also, we'll know more by then a little bit about where things are going. But right now it seems to go back towards lockdowns and restrictions. So we'll see. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.